everyone. Happy Sunday. How is everyone doing? To be here. I'm happy to celebrate National Minority or Multi-Ethnic Donor Awareness Month. This is wonderful that we have a month to educate our community about the importance of organ donation, about being educated about it, as well as talk about our health and making sure that we take care of ourselves so that we're able one day, if we need to be either a living donor and also to be a registered donor in case one day when we have that opportunity to save lives. So I am a donor mom. I am the mother of Brianna Brooks. My daughter, Brianna Brooks, saved the lives of 4 individuals through the gift of organ donation. So Brianna, at the age of 5, loved taking care of babies. She loved babies. She loved taking care of her brother. And she was inspired by her pediatrician, Dr. Renette Flowers, here in Atlanta. She was a doctor that was on television here locally. And that one appointment, that first appointment, encouraged her to be a doctor. After that appointment, she says, I know what I want to do with my life. And I'm like, wow, at the age of 5, you know what you want to do with your life. She said she wanted to be a pediatrician, and she stuck with that decision. She was all about taking care of other people. And senior year in high school, she was working at Grady Hospital at the NICU because she loved babies, and she was intending to become a doctor. Now, her pursuit was delayed because she became a mother. Her senior year in high school, she did graduate from high school, and she told me she was still going to be a doctor. But about 2 years later, she came to me and she had met another guy, and a year later, she was pregnant again with her second child. And then right after that, another year, she was having her third baby. Now, all of these babies were born. They were due in the month of November, my birthday month. So those are my birthday gifts. And I asked her when I met her that last time, I said, okay. She says, I'm done with babies. I'm already registered for classes. I start in the spring. And she was getting ready for her baby shower that was happening that following weekend. She told me she had a name for the baby, and that baby's name was going to be Kaylee. I was grateful because I didn't have to think about that name. And she looked at me and she says, I'm kind of concerned about being a mother at such a young age. And I'm not sure if I can do what you did raising me and my brother. And I said, Brianna, you've got this. I said, you're stronger than you know. And I'm here to support you. I said, you have a fiance you're going to be marrying. They were planning a wedding. So we were planning a wedding, a shower. They were waiting for their home to be ready in a gated community that was going to be ready in 2 months. So she had everything lined up, and they had a plan in place to live their lives and have a happy family unit, just them. Now that evening, I went home, and after I said my goodbyes to her and I kissed her, and she blew kisses to me and told me how much she loved me, I went home and took a nice shower, had something to eat, and I felt good. I felt good that my daughter was getting ready to get back on her path to do what she wanted to do and accomplish in life. And I received a phone call 1 o'clock in the morning letting me know that Brianna and her fiance were kidnapped. They were held for ransom for several hours for, I believe, the stepfather. They were asking the stepfather for money, her fiance's stepfather, and they never received their money. And because of that, they made a promise that they would show them, and they shot her fiance. They handcuffed them behind their backs and shot them both. Brianna was still living, still breathing, in spite of a bullet wound in the back of her head. And when she was rushed to Grady Hospital, I got the call to get there as soon as possible. When I got there and they explained what happened, I was in a fog. I was upset. I let out such an enormous scream that came from the bottom of my belly. And the pain, my chest hurt. Everything hurt when they told me I had less than 24 hours to say goodbye to my daughter. So her father and I, we went to the 13th floor at Grady Hospital, and he walked in before me, and I heard him call his daughter's name. And the way he called it, it was the pain I could feel when he said her name. So I walked in there and walked on the other side of her bed. And I saw my daughter lying in this bed, lifeless, not being able to do anything to help her. The doctors told me that they were waiting to do a brain activity test on her, but I allowed for 3 days, allowed everyone that loved Brianna, friends, family, to see her, to spend time with her. Even her brother, we had to go get him from college to spend time with her. But it was time to get the brain activity test. And so I had so much faith. I told the doctors, I have faith. I believe in miracles. I'm going to get a miracle. And he believed in my faith. So we waited. We waited for over an hour. And when they finally called us to that conference room and they looked at me and I couldn't read that doctor's face for anything. And he said the words, Brianna was declared brain dead at 6:16 p.m. And that was on September the 3rd. Now I'm sitting there like, this can't be happening. She has 3 babies. The baby that was delivered by emergency C-section, they told me might not survive. So I got to make plans for that baby. But I said, I believed, I had faith. I knew I was going to get a miracle. I didn't ask for a specific miracle, but I did get that miracle because that baby survived. And so Kaylee on August 30th, which is a bittersweet holiday for us, it's birthday and her father's anniversary death date, but she will be celebrating birthday number 9 this year. And so she is the miracle. She is a gift that God has given me. There are a lot of donor families when they have their children that are taken from them for whatever reason, that child dies, they don't have any grandchildren. So I take that as a blessing and a gift given to me to be able to be their mother slash grandma. I'm more of a mom than a grandmother. Only on the weekends am I a grandma, but during the week, it's an honor. It's a joy. And it was hard to get to that place, to welcome and to connect, because I grieved for a long time from my daughter. Now, took me about a year almost before I got involved with volunteering with Lifelink of Georgia here, which is the state's OPO, the Organ Procurement Organization connected with Donate Life Georgia. And so I started thinking about ways to honor Brianna's life. And I wrote 3 letters, actually 4 letters, to all of her recipients, letting them know what I was going to do. I was going to volunteer and share Brianna's story. I was going to keep her legacy alive. I was going to raise her children to know how much their mother loved them. And I never heard back from the recipients. It had been maybe 2 or 3 years. And then the first recipient to reach out was Brianna's heart recipient. Her name is Amber Jones. Now, Amber was a cardiovascular nurse. She was Brianna's heart recipient. And to know that she was a cardiovascular nurse gave me joy, because Brianna wanted to be in the medical field and her heart was beating inside of someone who was helping patients with heart issues. And she shared Brianna's story as often as she could. And she had an additional 6 years of life because of the decision Brianna made. And because of that, she became a donor as well, donating her corneas. And that has been 2 years since Amber's passed away in February. And followed behind Amber is Uncle Andrew. Andrew Hobbs is Brianna's liver recipient. And he requested to meet me, and Grady Hospital set it up for us to meet together in a conference room and to embrace this man, this beautiful Black man that was only asking to be worthy of the gift he received. It brought me joy. I was so happy, because this was an example of a Black woman saving the lives of another Black person in our community. Because we hear often how much it's a challenge for our loved ones to be on the waiting list, and they're not getting those organs. People are not registering to be donors. And to see his face and to look at him and tell him he was more than worthy of the gift, because if he wasn't worthy, he would have never received that gift. And so I am proud of him and all that he does on his own with his own nonprofit, encouraging his community about organ donation. I recently, 2 years ago, found out that one of my daughter's kidney recipients is actually a former co-workers of mine, her brother-in-law, her husband's a family member received one of Brianna's kidneys. So the closeness, the immediate connection right there, how close it is that someone that I worked with, their family was impacted by the gift that my daughter gave. And so that encourages me. I wanted to continue to do more after having all of these connections with each of these individuals. I said, I have to do more. And so that's when I decided to create her nonprofit called Brianna's Heart of Gold. And with that, we are going to be awarding our first scholarship next year here in Henry County, Georgia, where I live. And so we are excited to award that to a student who wants to be in the medical field. It doesn't matter what they want to do. It doesn't have to be a doctor or a nurse, but if it's in the medical field, we are willing to help with that. And so I'm excited to do that. And I also have my podcast that I encourage. I do morning affirmations of positivity. And it took a minute to get there, but this was a turning point for me, knowing that people are impacted by what I have to say, by encouraging them, by letting them know that I've been in a place, a dark place, that hole, that grief that held me down for so long. But the minute I started to do the work, to get the help, the therapy, to do everything I could to be happy with me and my life, and knowing that I have more than anything in this world that I deserve, and be given that from God, it's a gift. And so I encourage people to be organ donors. I share Brianna's story. I do speaking events, and I enjoyed doing the speaking event in Denver with the Passionate Friends Network, listening and sharing with those families and hearing their stories of their children, those bereaved parents, newly bereaved, those that have been bereaving and grieving for years and decades. But they come together to uplift each other, to encourage each other, to love, and never forget that the love of our children that we have never dies. It's always with us. And how we celebrate their life is important. So that is why I am always looking for opportunities to register donors, to encourage people to be living donors, but also just live a life with purpose and live it with passion. So I just want to thank each and every one of you for hearing about Brianna's story. And if there are any questions out there, I am open to answering any that you may have. I wrote, now when I got the letters of here in Georgia, LifeLink will send you brief descriptions of the recipients, age, whether male or female, and the hobbies that they like, and the state that they live in. So I had those letters, and they give you a pamphlet of ways to format your letter to your recipient. So once you write those letters, you send those go directly to the OPO, because they have to review those letters to make sure that there's no information in there that can, where you could directly contact the recipient or the recipient can contact you directly, because there has to be waivers signed in order to say that I'm willing to be contacted directly with the recipient or the donor family. So I wrote those letters, and I was writing them every year during the summer, like summer holiday, during Christmas and New Year. So 3 letters a year I was writing, and it was about 3 years before I heard anything. Now I do know that Amber, Brianna's heart recipient, she had their survival skill. She saw the letter, she read the letter, she knew immediately whose heart she received when she did her own research. And it just hurt her so bad, the fact of the way that Brianna had died and the cause. And so that was a challenge for her mentally, and she didn't know how to reach out, but she got the courage enough to say, I'm ready now to reach out to the family. So a lot of times donor families will never hear from their recipients. And I don't want them to take it as that recipient is not thankful for that gift, but it is a lot to know that they were given life because someone else died. And that's a lot to think about. And so for them, like, I haven't heard from Brianna's other kidney recipient, and I probably never will, However, I pray for them, and I hope that they continue to live life. And I can always contact LifeLink and say, I just want to get an update to make sure that they're okay. And then they'll reach back out and let me know that, that person is still doing well, and they know that you're open to being contacted. So for those donor families, when you're looking for that connection with that recipient, know that there may be the huge possibility of the fact that they have to come to grips with knowing that a life had to die in order for them to receive that life. And it's hard for some people to do that. Um, but don't ever give up hope. I mean, I would say continue writing the letters. I don't write every year, like 3 times a year. It's once a year now to that one recipient, hoping that maybe they will be, willing to connect with me and share with me their life and how they're living. And I just pray that they live a long and healthy, happy life. I pray that for all of Brianna's recipients. And I'm thankful that that Amber had 6 more years. She got a chance to go back to the beach. That was at the top of her list. And when she sent me a picture of her feet propped up on the beach, on Panama City Beach, I was so happy that she got to experience that again. And she sort of like stopped communication that last month because she was afraid to tell me she was going through rejection. But she did leave a message with her best friend, who called me when they let me know that she had passed away, that she loved me very much and was thankful that I welcomed her into our family. She was thankful for all of my family that would continue to email her and text her, good morning messages. My father would send her daily messages. My brother would send her jokes. And she was our family, and she's still our family. And so I honor her. Yesterday was her birthday, so it was her heavenly birthday yesterday. And I woke up early in the morning, as I always do, thinking about her and Brianna, and just grateful that she had more time. So I encourage those donor families, don't ever give up, but don't ever feel like that gift was not there. It's not, they weren't grateful for that gift, because I believe they are. It's just some people, it's hard to connect.
The question I have is, how do you stay so strong considering the circumstances? So, how do you keep your strength amongst all this?
Okay, number one is faith. Um, my father's a minister, so I've always had that foundation of faith, my belief in God, and believing that when I could not move forward in my life, I knew He was carrying me. And it was about a year. It was a rough year. That first year was extremely rough, but I had a village. My aunt, who I was staying with at the time, she was one that just refused to let me go down that rabbit hole of grief, that deep dark hole of grief. She would get me out the house, like, we're going to do something together, and just praying every day and asking God to give me the strength. And I know there was purpose in, as a result of my daughter dying. She gave me my voice, because I never really spoke to people. I never was a public speaker. I never really. My father heard me speak at Emory University once, and he was shocked to see me up there just sharing Brianna's story the way I did. And it's the voice that was buried all along. It was part of getting justice for Brianna as well in court. I knew I had to be her voice to make sure that justice was served, that the people that were responsible were I got justice for them, for both her and her fiance. But faith is number one. Having a small village of those close knit family friends that lifted me, carried me, and therapy is up there in my top five. I still have therapy sessions when I need it, but it's knowing that the gift that Brianna gave, um, that I was blessed to carry that life inside of me, and she was able to give life to not just 4, but she gave me 3 beautiful grandchildren. So 7 lives impacted by her decision to give life, and the people that are touched because of her story. And then people encourage me. I get messages in my email I get text messages, Facebook messages, Instagram messages like, hey, I saw your podcast today and you really encouraged me. And please don't ever stop. I have family members I didn't know were watching and listening to my podcast and, looking at my posts and like, cousin, thank you. I needed those words of encouragement today. So all of those things help me to stay strong. And there are days, I have moments where I cry for my daughter and I think about what it'd be like for her to be here to experience her children, going through all the different milestones when they first learn to ride their bikes. I cry tears of joy because I'm like, this is what she was supposed to be experiencing. But the destiny that she was planned for her was fulfilled in her giving life. And so it's my turn now to move forward in my path of purpose, and that's sharing and using my voice to help and encourage people and to uplift, because having that positivity in my life gets better and better every year. I wake up 5 in the morning, like on the dot. Even switching jobs, I'm still getting up at 5. And the first thing on my mind is, thank you, God, for waking me up. I'm here. I still have purpose. And then I tell my daughter how much I miss her. And I said, we're going to do this again today. And I just think about all the wonderful things. I think about it's going to be a great day. I'm going to make it a great day. I'm going to continue to have that positive thinking. And what can I do to do more for Brianna's legacy? And that's what carries me.
I was just wondering, was there any justice served?
Yes. Okay.
I was scared to ask that, but
I'm let me tell you, I'm very transparent in the story about Brianna from everything. There's nothing off limits. I share. So the 2 kidnappers were found probably like 2 months after Brianna died. And so they received, it was a death penalty case. However, because it had dragged on for about 4 years, they decided to do a plea deal with the DA's office, and they got 3 life sentences plus 65 years, no parole. So they will never ever step outside of the prison again. They're on 24-hour lockdown. I did have one of the defendants reach out through their attorney to answer some questions that I had, because I wanted some type of closure to get an idea of what was going on in their brain and their mind. And they honestly told me that they could ask for forgiveness and say they're sorry, but it would be a lie. Brianna and Durante were collateral damage. They wanted the money from his stepfather, and they were willing to do whatever they could. They took out of their mind the human aspect of Brianna and Durante. They didn't see them as anything but just in the way of getting what they needed. And so very brutal. He's very brutal about his answers. And he said maybe one day he'll be ready to ask for forgiveness or say he's sorry. But at this point, his whole focus was surviving prison. I think the DA's office was tired of me, but we got it. They were tired of hearing my voice and tired of me knocking on their door and calling. And because I called radio stations, news stations, like, look, I want to tell, I want justice. And doing that pushed it to get that resolved. It's not the result that a lot of my family members wanted. They wanted the death penalty, but they were okay with whatever I decided. And I accepted that only because when you think about my forgiveness over God's forgiveness, my forgiveness is not greater than his. So they will have to answer to God and ask him for forgiveness. When I let go of that weight, that anger, and I was holding on to that unforgiveness, when I finally did it, I felt so much better. The weight was gone. I could move forward in my life and really truly be happy and really be there for my grandchildren. So, and they are doing amazingly well because they were 10 months and newborn when their parents were killed. And we have pictures all over the house of their parents, and they know, mom and dad were killed. They know that. They don't know all the details. As they get older, I know they will want to know, which I will let them know when the time is right. But for now, they know that bad guys killed their mother and their father, and their mom was a donor. And they love Donate Life Month. So when Donate Life Month comes, they're like, "Can I get a new T-shirt?" Hello.
No, I love you.
I love you more. Oh.
Something real quick.
Okay.
Have you ever second guessed the grace that you gave the men?
No, I haven't. I didn't. Because what I did at church, my pastor was like, I would always go to the altar call to leave it there. And I would leave it there, but take a piece of it with me. Now, hummingbird feeders that I hang up by my tree and in front of the garden. So we have hummingbirds coming around, red cardinals, goldfinches. They're just, I had I think a blue jay one day was just sitting on, I have a flag saying, "Be awesome, be a donor, Brianna's garden." And I have the Donate Life sign out there, and it stays out there year round. I had to battle the HOA and explain to them the purpose of it. So after they heard the purpose, they didn't bother me anymore with that sign. So, and I always add more flowers to the garden. I put some purple in there because Brianna loved purple, yellow, and pink. Those were her colors. And so I wanted that garden to have so many rich colors. And as it grew, and now it's in full bloom, and I go out there in the morning and I just like to, I replace the hummingbird nectar, but I sit out there and I just like the quietness of my neighborhood. It's so quiet. We're out in the country, so it's quiet and I can hear the birds and it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful garden to honor her. And I have these Donate Life rocks that they had a couple of years back. It was a campaign with Donate Life America. They gave you you could get these rocks and decorate them and paint them. So I ordered 5 rocks and I painted the one gold for Brianna. And then the other ones are painted blue and green for her recipients. Year round, they stay tough. The rain will come and the colors are vibrant. So those rocks sit out there honoring her recipients, honoring Brianna, because it is the garden of life. And I love that garden. So it's my favorite place to be. The website is briannasheartofgold.org. Her podcast, which is on Spotify, I believe Apple produces it also, but it's Heart of Gold Inspiration, giving weekly affirmations on Monday morning.